Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Legally on America Live. I am Paul Glasgow here. We just left Facebook. We did about a 15-20 minute Facebook Live to get our folks from Facebook to come over here. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to join us here on YouTube. Tell your friends, just look for the YouTube channel, the Legally on America YouTube channel, and we'll be live. We try to do this every Friday night. We probably went on about 4 or 5 Friday nights in a row. Hey, what's up, Han Solo? Good to see you again, man. Welcome back. We were rolling pretty good about every 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and then a hurricane hit. Now, Hurricane Harvey hit, and last week I was out of pocket. And of course, this week we've got Irma, so Irma's not going to affect us over here in Louisiana. So we're rocking and rolling here again, finally back in the saddle again. Good to be honest with you. For those of you that don't know, we went down to Houston area and just south of Houston with a 20-foot John boat, and we helped out with a lot of the search and rescue. It was a very humbling experience, interesting. So yeah, it felt good to do that, guys. So we're back in the saddle, so to speak. I want to talk about some of the things we're going to be going over tonight. Real quick, I'll go through the rundown of what we're going to be talking about. First of all, I want to thank the 3 agreeers right here for hanging out with me: George Washington, General Robert E. Lee, and Abraham Lincoln. As you see, these 2 guys right here can get along with each other. They have more in common than what everybody else thinks. All the street warriors out there that claim to be history professors that know anything about these 2 guys and want to tear statues down don't know anything. Also, they want to tear down George Washington statues too. So we have some real idiots out there. The funny thing is, 70% of 70% of high school graduates can't read, but yet they all profess to be history professors and history experts, right? So kind of funny. People that cannot read somehow or another read enough to know more about history than what you and I do. Anyway, I digress. These 3 guys, I call them the 3 agreeers because if you notice, they will consistently nod every time I say something, so they like a lot of what I have to say. I want to also thank Battle Juice Energy Drink for kicking in. Without them, we wouldn't be having these live streams. I do appreciate those guys hanging out with us. We are going to be going over some pretty cool stuff. You will see, as always, some full-length videos on a lot of what we're going to be talking here today. I just want to unbox and introduce some things out here to show you guys live that we can discuss and talk a little bit about, that you will again see some full reviews on later on. So I don't want you guys to feel like, if we're brushing through stuff a little bit too quickly and too fast, that we're not going to talk about it again. So anyway, let's get right into it. Okay, I've got these 2, let's call them firearms. That's what the ATF wants to call them now. As you know, we've got a Black Aces Tactical. It's hidden back here, and you can't see it, but that's what kind of started the whole firearm thing. Not a short barrel shotgun and not a shotgun. It's called a firearm because of the way the thing was designed, and it has a lot to do with how it's originally designed. In other words, it was not modified to this. It was originally manufactured as this type of weapon. Therefore, it never was a full shotgun and never classified as a shotgun. Now, you couldn't take your Remington 870 and modify it to look like this. Then you would have to get a tax stamp in order to do that. But again, I'll go over a whole lot more of that in much more detail when we do our full review later on. But if you're in St. Pete, good Lord, good luck to you, Big Daddy. I hate that for you. Hopefully it goes up more east of you. So anyway, I'll go in way more in-depth detail about these 2 shotguns, or these 2 firearms. I'm going to call them shotgun by accident many times, but they're not shotguns. First 2 we got. Okay, this is the Mossberg. This is the Mossberg. It's built on a 590 chassis. It's got the bird head pistol on it. This thing is extremely important, this right here, in terms of allowing this thing to be considered a firearm and not a short barrel shotgun, and avoiding any ATF tax stamp. So this right here is probably the most critical piece. That's also another reason why you see both of these shotguns or firearms have the exact same thing, because that's a critical piece of it. It has a lot to do with, and again, we'll go into this in our full-length video, that it has a lot to do with it maintaining a 26-inch length and allowing it to have a 14-inch barrel on it. So that has a lot to do with it. I want to remind you guys real quick, remember, in the Temple of Boom here, we do not allow any loaded firearms at all unless you're carrying one on your side, and then it's not to be unholstered. So if you see us carrying or holding or managing any kind of weapon in here, none of them are loaded. They're all checked at the door. So we know that nothing in here is loaded. There's kind of a general rule. There's too many guns in here for us to have a bunch of loaded weapons in here and people dry firing and testing out triggers and stuff like that. So we don't have any loaded in here. So if you see me handling one again, don't fret, don't panic or anything like that. Again, every gun has been checked. I'm actually not even wearing a gun right now, but I usually, when I come in here, everything stays holstered if you carry one in with you. And I don't care if other people do too. We just don't unholster weapons here in here because it's too easy to get them confused, lay them down, and get them mixed up with something that actually, you may think it's something that's not loaded. So again, just wanted you guys to know that. These two firearms, very, very similar in characteristics, but they also have a lot of things that they're different about. Let's talk about the Shockwave real quick. This is the actual Mossberg 590 Shockwave. This thing right here, it's got an aluminum receiver. As you see, it's got kind of the corn cob pump on it with the strap on it. This thing is actually, I've not fired this yet, this particular one, but I did fire it over at SHOT Show earlier this year. This is actually pretty handy for somebody that's shooting something in this thing that you probably shouldn't be shooting. I'm going to tell you right now that I don't think it's a good idea. It's a total waste of money to shoot a slug in here, for one thing, because you're not going to aim it. The whole purpose of having a slug in many cases is because you're actually aiming it. Not a whole lot of aiming you're going to be doing. I mean, if you're trying to aim this thing like this, you're probably going to wind up with a busted lip and some teeth missing before anything. This is more of a hip shot, or more something that's going to be shot right here. In my opinion, you're wasting your effort if you're using a slug. So buckshot at best if you're looking for something heavy. You know, look, man, this is something that's going to be, I look at a lot of shotguns like this. You're not usually going to go to war with a shotgun. So I look at this more as a get me from point A to point B when I want to get to my primary weapon. So if you ask me, I'm probably going to load something, maybe a birdshot of some sort in here. You know, I'm not always looking to kill somebody if I'm going to use a self-defense shotgun. I'm just trying to buy some time in many cases. The cool thing about this particular model, the Mossberg, is that you can actually feed those, and I know I'm going to say the name wrong. I've seen it a million times, but Aguila, A-G-U-I-L-L-A, they make the short shells, the little 1¼ or 1¾ shells. You can actually load about 8 of them into this Mossberg Shockwave, where the normal capacity for a full-length shotgun shell is 5. You can load 8 of the Aguila short shells in it. So that's kind of cool. I mean, if you really want to load 8 into here, believe me, this is a message. This thing sends a message to you. You pull this out of your truck like this, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of hesitation. It's a more intimidating look than pulling a pistol out. I'm not saying I want to get shot with either one of them. I'm just saying that when you pull this out, this has, especially this, it's kind of a universal language. So in many cases, this is just, it has its reputation precedes itself. Let me just put it that way. Nobody wants to get shot with a shotgun, so I don't care if it's bird load. So I'm probably going to put a bird load in here, bird shot of some sort, because I can handle it better. Because again, if you're hip shooting or shooting it from right here, you want to have a little more control instead of that massive recoil, because there's not a whole lot to hold on to back here. This is not, it's called kind of a pistol grip of sorts, the Shockwave pistol grip, the Raptor, I think is what it's called, the Shockwave Raptor, but it's not much to hold on to. So, you know, this handle right here on the front of the corn cob, this little strap, that's probably going to help you a little bit. Plus, if you're inside here, which if you're in a high-stress situation, you could have a tendency to want to grab it on the outside of that corn cob like this. That could be problematic simply because that strap, your hand can slide on it. So you probably want to practice getting inside of there. But if you're on the outside right here, that could be a little bit dangerous, because remember, we're talking about a 14-inch barrel here. Inside this strap, you're going to keep that hand, look where my thumb is, you're going to keep that hand from being able to get in front of that barrel. Bad things can happen right there. So if you're racking this thing and your hand comes out in front of it, you know, you're probably in firing mode at that point. Again, high stress, you know, probably not something you want to do. This is the Remington. The Remington 870 Express, TAC14. It's a TAC14 because we have 14-inch barrel. So if you're wondering what the name is and why the name is that, it's a 14-inch barrel on this thing. That's why it's called that. Remington, I gotta tell you, it's a better looking gun, mainly because they put the Magpul M-Lock stock on here. You know, that's kind of a cool little addition. I've got a Remington Express Tactical, and I don't know what the It's got the pretty cool finish on it with like the marine version of it. I actually put the Remington M-LOK on it. It just feels better. It's also got these little lips in the back and in the front to where you're not going to slide. It's not quite like the strap that you have on the Mossberg, but still you're going to feel it, and you're probably going to be more likely to not go past it. So that's kind of cool. You know, and it looks good. I mean, let's face it, it looks good. The Remington, it's got a different type of finish. I don't know if it's a nitride finish or what the finish is, but it's like more of the Mossberg is more of a parkerized or some kind of a cheaper bluing, if you will. And I'm not trying to pick on the Mossberg, but it is a cheaper one. The Mossberg is actually aluminum. So you've got an aluminum receiver, and this is a steel billet receiver right here. So you're going to have more of a sturdy receiver. You're going to be giving up some pounds too. You know, I see people in a firearm like this. The debate can go either way. You know, you can have somebody that talks about, oh, it's heavier, so it can absorb that recoil a little bit better. I kind of subscribe to that theory a little bit more. Or you have other people who are going to say that they like the Mossberg better because it's lighter, because it's a small gun and it's a little bit more maneuverable. To me, that's not enough. The maneuverability between these two guys, what you're giving up on weight for the Mossberg versus a Remington, I don't think you gain any kind of real advantage. I think when you have adrenaline flowing, no one notices 6 or 8 ounces. However, I would think that I want this firearm to probably absorb the recoil a little bit more, because that's something that's going to allow me to stay on target a little bit longer, or get back on target a little bit faster whenever I need to. So I probably would prefer the heavier in these types of firearms rather than the lighter for maneuverability. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that you know, that's the right way to go, but one thing I have to give one of the marks to Mossberg on, you notice you've got your sling attachment. You've got it on the bird head here on the Mossberg Shockwave. You also have it up here on your mag tube cap. You do not have sling attachments on the Remington. Now, you might be thinking, why do I need a sling attachment on this little shorty? I'll tell you why. Just like when we went back to Hurricane Harvey and we were doing some of the search and rescue out there, you know, myself and Brad Stebbins, I don't know if Brad's watching tonight, but Brad Stebbins and I are the ones that went down there together. We both carried pistols on us. Now, we made sure whenever we got in mixed company that we were not too sure about, because you guys probably heard some of the stories down there. We made sure people saw our firearms, because we wanted to make sure that, look, if you're looking for a quick hit and you're wanting to loot somebody, these ain't the guys you want to do it with. So our pistols were very, very obvious. My point to you is, just like we said earlier about a weapon like this sending a message just from the visibility and how it looks and the intimidating nature of it. If I would have had a 2-point sling on this thing and just slung it over my back, you know, imagine this thing slung over your back and 2 knuckleheads get in a boat. If they have a thought, even for a brief moment, that they want to roll these 2 guys and take this boat, there's a very good chance that they're not going to do this. Plus, you're going to have a backup pistol on you anyway. So, to me, I would prefer to have this. And again, this is a perfect time right now with these hurricanes hitting for something like this. I don't mean in a martial law type situation, but let's say Hurricane Rita hit us 12, 13 years ago. Let's say, just like what happened then, we lost power for 2.5 weeks. My home's still here. My home was not destroyed. A lot of homes around us were. Tornadoes had hit. But my home was fine. So I had a lot to protect at my house. Again, I'm not saying it's a martial law type situation, even though there were some curfews and things like that out there. But you really want to send that message to anybody out there who might be thinking for one moment that that's the place I can go hit and get some easy stuff. You really want to send that message. Whether this is my primary weapon or not, to sling one of these over your shoulder, it sends a message for hundreds of yards away. So if you have some knucklehead that's watching you or casing your neighborhood come strolling through there, he doesn't have to get close to you to see this thing slung over your back. So again, my point in all that is I'd like to see Remington add those sling attachments on here also. because I think it's a plus. I think with the type of gun that this is, probably 99% of the time it's going to be on the floorboard of your truck. Or in my case, I have a case on the back of my passenger seat that I can slide one of these straight down into, so I can pull that out. So that's where it's probably going to be most of the time. But you know, when you want to sling this thing over your shoulder, this thing's not going to be slung over your shoulder. You're actually going to be having to walk like this, and you're holding up one of your hands. So in my case, I'd much rather see the Remington guys follow along, even if they have to copy the Mossberg guys, but add those sling attachments on there, and I think it makes these guns more neck and neck. The Remington already has some pluses to it, simply because it has the steel receiver versus the aluminum receiver. I got to give them the edge on that. And again, I definitely like the stock on here, the Magpul M-Lock stock. That's nice. I'm not seeing y'all's comments, and I do apologize for that, because I'm trying to roll through this kind of fast here. Guys, it is 10:45. We've been 15 minutes into that. Thanks everybody that's hanging out with us here tonight. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Friday night. These live streams are a lot of fun. I enjoy them. Anything about SIG regarding the 320? I sent my request into them. First announced, I haven't heard of Pete. I haven't heard anything either. You know, one of the questions on here was about the SIG P320 and the voluntary upgrade. I filled out the paperwork the first day, or the online paperwork, the first day that it was available. Didn't hear, you know, they're supposed to tell you once you fill out your stuff online, then they're supposed to contact you back, let you know what you can do with the pistol, how it's going to be sent back, because they are paying for the return of it and the you know, for it to get back to you also. So definitely, you know, you ought to hear something back from them. My guess is, I think they kind of put it out there. It's kind of like a fishing expedition. I think they put out there for everyone to go in and enter their information, and they wanted to get a feel for how many of those SIG P320s that were actually going to be returned, because they even said they were stopping a lot of their production of other pistols so that they could focus on that. My guess is they probably got overwhelmed with those, and they're really trying to gear up right now to be able to receive all those P320s and modify them so they can send them back out again. So that's just my guess so far. You know, I've got one sitting here ready to go. Anyway, well, that's it for the water. That's the Shockwaves. I guess you shouldn't call them both Shockwaves, but they both do have Shockwave Raptor pistols or grips on them. That's the actual official name. They're Shockwave Raptor grips. Both cool shotguns. Just so you guys know, oh, firearms, I'm sorry, they're not shotguns. Just so you guys know, we are going to be doing full reviews on both of these. We're going to run them in conjunction with one another, so you will get to see them run side by side. We will shoot everything from buckshot to birdshot to the Aguila short little shots on them. I have not loaded these guys up yet. I know the Mossberg will hold 5 rounds and 8 rounds of the Aguila short shells. I don't know what the capacity of the Mossberg, the Remington 870 TAC14 is. My guess is, just looking at them, they're exact same dimensions. It's got to be 5. You know, if they have a tube in there, I'm sure we can take it out. So I'm assuming 5 also. But again, we'll see when we get to our full-blown review. The price on those, real quick, you're probably going to find both of them for around $400. The Shockwave by Mossberg is a little bit more common. You can find it a little bit easier. The Remington TAC14 is a little bit harder to find. This thing right here, I had to wait a little while to get it in. It wasn't quite as easy to get my hands on as the Mossberg. So you may be waiting a little while to get one of these, but nevertheless, if are both of them in that, the 870 and the 590 Mossberg, if they're anything like their big brothers, the reliability of the true 870 and the true 590, they're probably going to be reliable. I got to tell you, this Remington 870 right here is extremely reliable. But if you've seen any of our older Gun Bully segments on YouTube, you probably saw one. I had a Remington 870 that was a freaking turd. This thing was junk. Man, it wouldn't cycle low brass for anything. Literally had to, at some point after making the shot, the extractor, this thing was, I had to beat this thing on the ground to get the pump to come rearward, and when I did beat it on the ground, the extractor ripped a hole in the lip of the brass on the shotgun shell, on the spent casing. So, man, the quality of Remington, that whole Freedom Group thing, and that purchase that was made, and all that good stuff, it went kind of downhill. And I'm a lifelong Remington fan. You know, like I said, I've got this one. I've got some Remingtons on the wall over here. I have a couple of Remington Versamaxes that I really like. Those are newer guns. The quality of those, I really enjoy them. They're nice. Man, as far as the 870, it's like they took that 870 and figured, well, it doesn't cost as much to make it, so let's invest even less in it. And it's like they cut their quality care completely out. Because I'm telling you, that one I had was a freaking turd. It was bad. It was junk. It was so much junk that we didn't hesitate to stuff the barrel with mud just to see if we could blow the barrel up and make it into a flower. That's how dissatisfied I was with it, and we did. So anyway, you can go check some of our older videos out. That's actually on there. Yeah, somebody's making a comment on here that Springfield's doing the same thing with quality. Man, I got to be honest with you. I don't think Springfield has taken near a step backwards like Remington has, just because it hasn't really changed ownership like that whole Remington group did. But Remington, Springfield, yeah, I got to agree with you a little bit. They have taken a little bit of a step backwards. Guys, we're going to get straight into, you're probably tired of hearing about this. We're going to get straight into this whole Glock Generation 5 discussion that's been taking place over the last couple of weeks. Again, Hurricane Harvey kind of delayed us getting into this. We would have had our hands on these Generation 5 Glocks a week and a half ago. But again, the hurricane hit and we got sidetracked, and I didn't get my hands on them until last week. I've already got a full review out there on it, so if you get a chance, go check it out. I see a real quick comment about Smith & Wesson just released the M2.0 Compact. That's going to be a cool gun. I'm excited to get my hands on one. It's a right-sized gun. It's going to give these guys a run. It's going to give Glock a little bit of a run, and then it's not going to, replace them at the top of the pecking order, and the food chain as far as these, polymer striker-fired guns. But that 2.0 by Smith & Wesson, I'm telling you, that's going to be a hit. I really believe that. Let's look at these Glocks real quick. The most notable things, and guys, if you've already seen my video on this, definitely check it out if you get a chance. Look, the Generation 5 Glock, it's a cool pistol, okay? If you like the Generation 1 Glock, you're going to like this one. If you like the Generation 2 Glock, you're going to like this one. If you like the Generation 3 Glock and the Generation 4 Glock, you're going to like this one. It's like I made the comment in our video for the review of the Generation 5. It's like hula hoop designing a new hula hoop, and they put a pinstripe on it, and they said this one is more round than the last hula hoop. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to get excited about some of the, quote, improvements on the Generation 5, but I gotta tell you, there's a couple that I actually am excited about. Those of you that haven't seen the Generation 5, I'm gonna real quickly go over some of the main improvements on it. Flared mag well, that's the #1 thing. Big deal, big deal. You're going to be able to, in a high-stress situation, make mag changes a whole lot more fluid and a whole lot easier. It's just going to happen. You know what? You could very easily, in a standard Glock that has, in fact, this, I don't want to run the moment here. I'm going to use an older Glock right here that has, it's not loaded either. You know, when you don't have a flared mag well, you could very easily bump that magazine right at the lip right there that's not flared, and cause you some time, some valuable time in many cases, trying to get that thing in there. Whereas this Glock with the flared mag well, you can almost screw up and it's going to go in. See what I mean? Even if you jam it, you can almost wiggle it and it's going to still find its way into this mag well. If you can see the mag well there, you can see the flared lips on it. And it's subtle. You can see it on the outside also. You can see the, see if I can get the light to hit it to where you can really see it. Yeah, you can see it flared right there. Yeah, that's subtle. But boy, that subtlety, it's all you need. It's all you need to make a quicker mag change. To me, it kind of enhances the grip a little bit too. because you have a little bit more of your hand that it's catching that flare coming out. So it's almost like your hand is sitting on a seat at the bottom, and it's kind of holding you. In my opinion, it makes you get a higher grip. You can't really get that low straight grip, because if you're grabbing this bottom of this mag well, you feel it and it's not comfortable, and it kind of makes you have to get a little bit higher. So that's kind of cool about it. Speaking of magazines, they do have an orange follower. That's kind of cool in the event, let's say a guy is in some kind of maybe competition or a real life situation, and he wants to be able to see. I'm trying to get you guys some light right there to where you can see. There you go. You can see the orange follower right there. So you can have a visual on your pistol and see if you are, in fact, if you're shooting. You know, if your gun is locking open like that, obviously one or two things is happening. You either have a misfeed of some sort, or you're empty. So you can drop your mag, reload, and go to town. Okay. That's the benefit to me of having the orange follower. Now, on one of our videos that we did on the review of the Glock Generation 5, somebody made a great comment on there. How long do you think that thing's going to stay orange? Exactly right. You keep shooting these things, keep shooting them, definitely going to turn black. What I would recommend is, if you're either in competition or if your possibility of being in a high stress situation, if you're going to carry this pistol on a regular basis at a concealed carry or open carry, if it were me, you should be cleaning your magazines on a regular basis anyway. I don't clean my magazines near as often as I clean my pistols, but I clean my magazines. Probably, oh God, for every one time I clean my pistol, every 10 times I clean my pistol, maybe I'll clean this thing once. So not a bunch, but if it were me, let's say I went to the range today and I shot this Glock 17, or 19, I'm sorry. What you probably want to do is, if I go to the range today and carry this, and now all of a sudden I'm going to start carrying this as my carry gun today, I want to take this thing home, clean the pistol, get it ready to roll, get it ready to be on my side, clean this also. It doesn't take you much to grab you a rag and simply wipe the black, get inside those crevices right there, and make this thing real pretty and bright orange again with very little effort. So you can get this thing that clean again. Once you put that first round in there, you're not going to get a whole lot of that carbon that's going to be piling up on that thing, because those last couple of rounds are going to somewhat protect this. So when you're emptying out this magazine, it's less likely that this thing's going to be black by the time you get to it. That's, again, if you are cleaning this also. If you never clean your magazines, your follower is going to be black at some point, and you're only going to have signs of orange on there. So excellent point about keeping this thing orange that one of our viewers on YouTube said. Excellent point. I like that a lot. There's a different type of finish. I don't have the exact name of the finish, but it's a noticeable finish on this Generation 5 Glock versus the older generations. It's kind of funny. They say that it's blacker, and I laugh because it's darker black. There's, black is black. But it actually is. It's got more deep tone to it, and I think it's because it's probably not reflecting as much light. If any of you guys out there use frog lube, this thing feels like it's been coated with frog lube. You know how frog lube gives that lubricated feel to metal on something, and that's what this thing feels like. It feels like it has that frog lube finish to it, even though it doesn't. It does not have frog lube on it. It feels like it. So I like that. Like I said in one of our main videos also, it definitely, I'm not concerned with pistol wear on my pistol, on my carry gun. It's a carry gun, for God's sake. So if it gets a little bit of wear on it, big deal. I'm not entering beauty pageants with my pistols. So I'm not necessarily looking for something that's going to be able to fight holster wear, because you're going to get holster wear. I don't care how good this finish is, it's going to wear at some point. So I know I'm going to get some wear up around these edges right here, and most likely along here. And usually, for some reason, I guess because it's being held up against my right-hand side, I get holster wear on the left-hand side. I don't know if that's because it's being pushed up against my side and maybe there's some tension, but I tend to get a little bit of holster wear right in this area. So I'm okay with that. It's my carry gun. Again, I'm not entering a beauty contest with it. So I really don't care about that, the fact that it's got that newer finish, although it's a nice thing to have. You do have an ambidextrous slide catch right here. That's cool for you lefties out there. I'm not a lefty, so I could care less about it, to be honest with you. The trigger is better. The trigger, believe it or not, all the complaints about Glock triggers over the years, they finally improved it a little bit. Not as much as they should have. They could have done a lot more with this trigger and made a very nice stock trigger in this thing, and they just kind of stopped. They didn't quite go that far. But it does have a nicer trigger to it. There's no doubt about it. The trigger's noticeable. The reset on it, when you reset this thing going forward, and you can go back and refer to our video that we did on this here on YouTube, it's definitely got a better feeling trigger. The reset seems about the same. The reset, for some odd reason, feels about the same as the reset on the older pistols. But man, when you go to take up again, it will surprise you. If you're trying to feel for that same amount of take up that you had on the older Glocks, you're going to be surprised, because this thing is going to break quicker and cleaner, a little bit more crisp. So yes, noticeable on the trigger. The trigger is definitely has a noticeable feel to it. I like it. A couple of things that didn't change. Well, another thing, a major thing, the finger grooves are gone. A lot of people don't like the finger grooves. Finger grooves, in my opinion, kind of limit you a little bit. The finger grooves are going to make you, it's going to make you fit your hand to the gun instead of the gun fitting you. That's what finger grooves are going to do. Finger grooves, to me, you're limiting people. You're limiting the type of people, the size of hands, the skinny fingers, the fat fingers, the big hands, the small hands. There's so many different size hands out there, and you have one Glock with the exact same size finger grooves on every single one. To me, that's just not a good idea. By removing those finger grooves, if somebody has smaller hands and they need to get higher up, they can get higher up. You know, if you've got a guy with really small hands and he's trying to get high up on that bore axis, you know, there's a very good chance that those finger grooves, his fingers are going to be riding in between those finger grooves, like on the actual ridge that comes out, instead of being tucked down into them the way Glock intended your hand to be on. Not everybody has the same size hand, Glock, come on. So by removing those finger grooves was a big deal to me. I think it was good. Finger grooves didn't serve any purpose. To me, if you need finger grooves to get leverage on your pistol while you're shooting it, you need better training on shooting your pistol. Because finger grooves do not make you a better shot. They do not make you manage your pistol any better. If anything else, it's just something that makes you feel better about holding the gun. Because there's no measurable anything that is out there to say that finger grooves help you control your pistol anymore. That's like some people, excuse me, saying on the really small subcompacts where they don't have a pinky finger rest. Like if their pinky's going to roll off the back, the bottom side of it, I've seen people, oh, you know, I need that extension over there so that I can get a better grip. You're hardly getting any grip with your pinky finger. Your pinky finger, you go out to the range and shoot, you're getting most of your grip with these two fingers right here and your thumb. That's where most of your grip is. You could shoot all day with no pinky at all on there, and you're not going to shoot any worse or any better with that pinky not making contact with your pistol. It may feel better, and mentally you may be more comfortable shooting that pistol because your pinky is in an area that you feel comfortable with it, but it's not having anything to do physically and with a motor skill standpoint with how you shoot that pistol. It just doesn't. It's a fact. It doesn't. So again, you may be mentally telling yourself, this feels better, I can shoot better like this. That's great, and there's nothing wrong with that, because we have to be mentally okay with the pistol that we're shooting anyway. So if that's what it takes to make you feel better about shooting that pistol, that's all fine. I'm not picking on you about that. But these guys that are out there that, oh, you know, usually it's guys that are new shooters. I need that extension. Where's that extendo clip? Extendo clip. You know, it's some stupid terminology that you hear because they feel like they need that because it doesn't feel right to them with that pinky finger not being resting on the mag at the bottom of the mag well in the proper way. So again, just some observations from me. Now, I have a 17 here. One thing I want to point out to you, that Glock, for one thing, it's missing front serrations. Why won't Glock do that? I don't know. So many people would like that. Lucky enough, can you talk about the G23? I will in a second. I have a G23 that I really like. Glock did something on some of these models, and this is a 17. Obviously, it's the bigger model, full size. Trijicon, see if you can see that. Some Ameriglow sights on there. Look at that front post sight right there. That sucker jumps out. It jumps out at you. Anybody out there that is a shooter knows that when you're shooting, your front sight is the most important thing you should be looking at. obviously you want to make sure you're shooting at what you want to shoot at. That's obviously kind of important, but you're not focusing on your target. You should be looking at that front sight. That front sight should be in focus and go wherever you're going. Your eyes should be following that. On a lot of the guns, I'm not picking on Glock, when you have these just red dots on the front, or even sometimes just a black post, it doesn't demand your attention. It doesn't make you look at it. It doesn't say, hey, look at me, you need to be focusing on me to get this shot off. This Ameriglow front post, that does. To me, it demands that your eye go to that. If nothing else, when you're aiming with it, it's almost distracting to the point where you feel like you have to look at it. I like that. I like the fact that it's making you look at it, because you're going to see your front sight. And if you're looking at your front sight and you're putting that front sight on the target you're trying to shoot, you're going to hit your target, as long as you're not manipulating that trigger and jerking it or anything like that. So that's one of the fundamentals of helping you make a better shot with your pistol, is looking at your front sight. And if you can get your hands on one of these Ameriglow sights with on this new Glock Gen 5, to me, you're going to like it a whole lot better than that old white dot sight, because again, it makes you look at it, and it's going to just indirectly make you a better shooter. It's just going to. It's something, one less thing you have to think about. You don't have to be thinking, look at my front sight, because the front post jumps out at you so much, it makes your eyes are going to drift to it automatically. So I like them. The Gen 5s are nice. Again, personally, I'm not going to sell any of my guns to go buy one. You know, one of those kind of things that you're not going to be disappointed if you hold on to some of your old Glocks. The cool thing about it is there's probably going to be a flood of Gen 4 Glocks out there, because everybody's going to be selling their Gen 4s to get a Gen 5. Police stations, they'll be upgrading at some point to the Gen 5, so you're probably going to find some you know, previously used old Gen 4s. Excuse me. Let's remember also, guys, I just want to make this point. If you ever get a chance to buy some used Glocks or whatever type of pistol from a law enforcement agency, remember this. Most police officers don't spend a lot of time behind the trigger on their Glock or their service pistol. They just don't. I'm not picking on them. They just don't. I mean, if you have a Glock that's shooting his gun, a law enforcement officer that's shooting his gun all the time, there's something wrong. If he's doing it in active duty, you know, if he's always shooting his gun, you know, we need to check on this dude. You know, where's he working at? What's he doing? They don't do a whole lot of qualifying. I want to say most law enforcement agencies, you're qualifying twice a year. So they don't do a whole lot of shooting. So the guns are not ragged out. They're worn a lot, so they may have some wear on them from being in that holster all day, but the internals and the components on the inside, they're usually in very good shape. Maybe a little bit dirty because they're not being cleaned on a regular basis, but dirt can be cleaned off of a Glock. I mean, it's a Glock, for God's sake. You know, dirt's not hurting that. So if you ever get a chance to get you a bargain basement deal on a pre-used Glock from a law enforcement agency, a lot of these guys will take them in bulk and they'll trade them into gun stores for credit, or there's other ways they do it also, but I've seen that done. Don't hesitate to get you one, and don't think because they're used in the line of duty that they're used up, because they're definitely not used up. Again, they may have some wear on them just from being, you know, holster wear, but you wear your own gun for 3 months and see the holster wear you're going to get on it. That doesn't mean the gun works any less or any worse than what it did before. It just means it's got some superficial you know, damage on the outside of it. Big deal. You know what I mean? Big deal. You're getting a gun that's maybe been fired at that point. Even if it's 2 years old, that gun maybe had 100 rounds run through it, maybe 200 rounds run through it. That's nothing. Certainly nothing for a Glock. So again, if you get a chance to get some pre-owned, pre-used guns from law enforcement, do it. You know, very good deal. You usually get a heck of a bargain, and like I said, you get a gun that's still in pretty good shape. I want to talk about this pistol, and one of you guys on there on the live feed, you've asked me before about the CZ P10, and we thought they were sending me a full size. This is not a full size. This is the compact. Excuse me, which I'm still happy to have. But this is a CZ P10c, the C obviously for compact. This is supposed to be the next Glock killer. It's supposed to be. Now, let's see. We have had The M&P, which the M&P 2.0, which is about to be coming out, is going to give Glock a run at the top of that heap. The HK VP9, that was the next Glock killer. It definitely took some market share from Glock. There's no doubt about it. That was actually a pretty big deal. HK coming in with that, sub $600 pistol, striker fired in that same price range as a Glock. It didn't hurt Glock. Believe me, no shareholders from Glock have missed a meal because HK came in there, but it definitely took some market share from them. Let's see, FN has a great, I think it's the 509 maybe. Great striker fired 9mm out there. That's a super pistol. We haven't done a review on one, but I've shot one and I have one. I love the pistol. It's a great pistol. That's another good one. This thing right here, I got to tell you, man, this is going to give them a run. CZ's got quality. When you get a CZ, those Czechs can put some these guns that are nice quality. This one right here, I don't know how well you can see it, but they taper the slide down, kind of like what you see on the SIG P320, which is not, they didn't steal it from SIG because, again, I have an older P07, CZ P07 here, and they taper it down. They're known for tapering those slides down towards the front, from the rear to the front like that. So it's something that they already do. But one thing that CZ's always kind of been known for is they've always raised that bore and put that bore way up high right there to try to, I'm sorry, I'm telling you, just let me look at both of these, see if I can see the difference on them. Yeah, you can kind of see it on this one. If you notice that slide, the way this slide sits, CZ's kind of one of the companies that puts their slide inside the frame. In other words, it doesn't go around the frame. A Glock, you've got your slide that it hooks onto the frame like this. It goes around the frame, and then it slides on the outside of the frame. Where this P07, the way CZ does it, and you can kind of see it there, the rails go inside the frame. So instead of the slide sitting on top of the frame, the slide sits down inside the frame. It goes inside and it hooks on the inside of it. Well, this P10 does not do that. This P10 is built just like a Glock, a VP9, all those other pistols out there. This is way more of a traditional style design for CZ in comparison to a lot of the other guns that they're trying to compete with. So you're seeing a whole lot of newer changes in this, but they're maintaining and holding on to some of their old design ideas that they've had. The front serrations here, and I'm going to tell you something. These are some deep serrations on this thing. The rear serrations too, but I like the fact that they have front serrations. Some guys like to charge this thing from the front. Some guys still want to grab them from the rear back there. But if you get your hands on one of these, you can't see it in this. I don't think the camera and the light over here is going to, let's see if you can see those serrations right there. You can kind of see them. The cool thing about those serrations, man, I'm really screwing this up. I'm trying to get it to where y'all can see that. There you go, right there. Those serrations are really, really deep. They're really deep. And if you put your finger in the back, they're more aggressive on the back side of the serration. So when you are charging, you can really feel it. Whether you have gloves, sweaty hands, wet hands, cold hands, anything like that, I don't think you're going to have an issue charging this thing. It's got similar to Heine sights on this thing. So if you were having to charge this thing for some reason on a side of a table or a desk like that because you had your support hand was incapacitated, you're going to be able to do that because these sights have a really good shelf right here for you to charge that. Not the greatest sights, white dot sights, so you're not talking about anything that's going to, my complaint on a lot of these guns is they always have the white dot sights. I kind of get it, I guess. Nobody wants to spend, you're trying to get into a market where you can be competitive from a pricing standpoint. So I guess your base model, you don't want to blow your wad and put another, $50, $75 set of sights on there. So I get it. But one of the big things about the new Glock Gen 5 was that it had ambidextrous slide stop. The P10 has one already. This is not an upgrade. It's not like they're coming out with their new model that's got an ambi stop on it. This one's got one. It's also, you don't have to, on the Glocks, if you want to change the mag catch and make it ambidextrous, you can. but it's never ambidextrous at the same time. So you can't use the right side and the left side at the same time. This CZ, you can. It is ambidextrous. You have a button on both sides of it. Why Glock doesn't do that, I don't know. It's not hard to do. You can just look on the inside of this if they need an idea to figure out how to do it. But it's actually ambi on both sides. So you can drop the magazine from either side. So you definitely want to give these guys some kudos for that, because that's cool. I mean, that's a neat deal right there. There's some smaller things, and we'll go into more of this stuff whenever we do our full review. But they even taper the bottom of the mag well over here a little bit. So if you have a magazine that gets stuck in here, you can grab your fingers can grab inside this little bitty notch and pull to get it out of there in the event that it gets stuck. Maybe it's dented or dirty. One thing I want to point out also real quick, Glock has polymer plastic magazines with a metal insert. These are metal magazines. Now, the CZ having a metal magazine, a couple of ways you can look at that. Some guys, the same reason why the polymer magazines got so popular in an AR-15 magazine, some guys don't like a metal magazine because they feel like if you're in, combat and you drop these things, especially if you drop them on the feed lip, that for some reason you can dent this thing because it's metal. I think that's a little bit of a long shot, simply because people have been shooting metal magazines for years. Old 1911s, CZ75s, a lot of old guns have had metal magazines, and they function just fine. Any magazine can get stepped on, broken, whatever. So, I'm not saying this is always a plus, but you decide. I mean, to me, you've got a metal magazine versus a polymer magazine. This is a well-made magazine too. I mean, you can see the lines it has on the side of it to give it a little bit more strength. It's also got the holes on the back, just like a Glock does, to tell you what your round count is. That's kind of cool too. And guess what? It's not an upgraded orange follower. That's just the standard follower that they came out of the box with. So they've already got their colored follower, just like the Glock Gen 5 does, to show you that your gun is in fact empty whenever it's empty. Now, the odd thing is, I don't know what color this is. The Glock is clearly orange. You can't really even tell in this picture, but the Glock is very obviously orange. This is like a weird pink. It's like a pink orange. I don't know. It's like something you'd see at a nail salon or something. A color, just very unusual color. It's probably called CZ pink or CZ orange or something like that. But yeah, it's kind of a different look to it. Nevertheless, it's cool. The trigger's good on this thing. I like the trigger. It's got so many features that a normal Glock does. If you notice how undercut it is right here under the trigger guard, I like that a lot. What's some other things it's got? You have a rail on here. It's got the notch right here, so you can actually put something on there, not like some of the rails that you've seen on some guns that actually aren't functional at all. Takedown is the exact same as a Glock. Very easy to take this thing down. You're not going to fight with it or anything like that. It's going to come apart just like a Glock does. The insides of it, not quite as much of a metal look to it. I love the look of that recoil spring. To me, something real that's real manly looking to me. I like the way this thing is made on the inside. So I think this gun is going to be a hit. I really do. We are going to do a full-blown review on it. I'm very excited to do a full review on this thing. I actually am so excited about this pistol that I have ordered a holster, a Kydex holster to fit this thing. I want to carry this thing a little bit. I think it'll be a good one to carry. And just so you know, you can adjust and take the back of the magazine. The back strap of the grip off to fit your hands. And actually, the changes in that are pretty big, so you can really fill out your hand if you want to. If you have really large hands, you could put a pretty good size strap on there. So definitely something worth looking into if you get a chance to. It is 11:19, so I've been talking this whole time. I want to kind of open it up to you guys. I've got my pen and paper here. Any of your questions that you have, I'd like to address them. And you guys have been really good about giving me some feedback. So I definitely want to encourage you on that. If you've got any feedback, anything we talk about here, anything you want us to talk about, any guns you'd like for us to do full-blown reviews on, I'd like for you to let us know. So I'm going to open the floor up to you guys now. This is my monitor for those of you that are new on here. This is my monitor. This is how I can tell what you guys are talking about and all that. And I know I haven't spent a whole lot of time here looking at that tonight because I've been rambling on about these guns. But everyone should have a 1911. I totally agree with that. You can see I'm a 1911 guy. John Browning was something else, man. My whole thing about a guy like John Browning, and it's not to take anything away from anybody else out there that's a gun manufacturer or designer over the years and in the past, but John Browning came up with the design in his head of a 1911. Anybody that's taken a 1911 apart and all those pieces, the sear spring, everything on the inside of that thing, taken one apart and looked at it, we did that with the help of YouTube videos, instruction manuals, books, magazines. This man designed this thing in his head. Now, he didn't have a shop that he could run down to, a machine shop, and ask somebody to make a part for him. This dude was filing parts and cutting parts and making his own stuff. That is incredible to me to even think that anybody could be that smart. Henry Ford tried to get John Browning to go to work for him at the Ford Motor Company back in the day. And John Browning said no, because he had such a love for firearms that he stuck with firearms. Can you imagine probably how far along vehicles would be today if John Browning had gone to work for Henry Ford? Can you imagine that? How awesome would that have been? I'm glad he stuck with guns, but I mean, just saying, can you imagine if he would have done that? That would have been incredible. The advances that you might have seen in the automobile industry at such an early point in time when they were so new with the old Model Ts. So yeah, John Browning, I imagine he could have done a lot with a Model T to make it a little bit more efficient. Anyway, I'm going to try to look at you guys' questions here for a minute and your comments. Don't mean to intrude into your conversation, but I am just going to kind of look at what your conversation is. Anything you guys ever want to talk about, I'm wide open on it. Just so you guys know, we do a whole lot of our, anytime you see a gun that I talk about here, we're going to try to do the 509 review. I am going to do a 509 review. I've got one. For those of you that don't know, the FN makes the 509. Great pistol. That's another one that's going to, run with these guys, the big dogs here, and competing for market share right now. It's a great gun. Update on the P320, man. No update on the P320. I will say this, and I'm only going to use his first name. I don't know if he's on here or not. A guy named Rock, that's over in the Baton Rouge area down here in Louisiana. Big help to me. He was actually on the live stream a couple of times, and he reached out to me whenever I broke the P320 the last time with the hammer. As we were hitting it on the table, I broke the trigger guard, and I don't think I have it in here. But I broke the pistol. Is it over there? I don't know where I put it. Anyway, I broke the trigger guard on it, and Rock reached out to me. Super nice dude, man. That's what I like about this gun community. Everybody's really good people. And he had gotten a new chassis for his P320, I think an OD green, and so he had the black one that came with his pistol. This dude reaches out to me and says, look, man, I'm going to ship it to you. No charge. He just shipped it to me. He sent me his P320 frame. As you know, it's not the serialized part, so you can do that. Sent it to me at no charge whatsoever, and he paid for shipping. Now, I'm going to send him some Legally Owned America t-shirts and some things like that for he and his son, but I thought that was so cool. So that's the update on my P320. I'm sending mine back, but I'm probably going to, I think what I'm going to do to try to get the guys at SIG, maybe to laugh a little bit about it, I'm going to send it back with the broken trigger guard and just see what they say or what they do. They may just blow it off and say, we ain't fixing this, and just go in and change the components out on the inside. But I'm going to send it back broken. When I get it back, then I'm going to change that out and put the new chassis on there. I have no updates on the P320 as far as, whenever they had the voluntary, make sure I word this right, the voluntary upgrade on that Monday, I went in, as you saw in one of my videos, I went in and I entered all my information, my serial number and everything, all my specifics about my pistol. Sent that in to Glock, to Glock, wow, and to SIG, and they are supposed to contact us in return to, I guess, give us a drop ship label. I don't know if it's a box or how they're going to do it, but they are paying for the full transportation of it to and from SIG. In order to do that, copy the video on a thumb drive with. I should. One of you guys said I should send a copy of the video on a thumb drive. I may do that. But anyway, I've got no word back from SIG yet. You know, they're supposed to let me know what they're going to do in terms of collecting these, you know, particular pistol, and I've heard nothing back from them. So I mean, I know I will. I just think they've probably been overwhelmed. You know, with so many of these people taking the voluntary upgrade. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if you have a pistol that can fire when it's being dropped, if you can do anything to minimize that, that's going to make your life around you a little bit safer if you've got kids or whatever. Personally, I have the old adage of don't drop your pistol, but some people don't look at it like that. I've actually been in some arguing matches here lately with some guys online who claim they drop loaded pistols all the time. I don't think that's normal. I understand when you have law enforcement guys and military and even citizens who are maybe in a firefight, but honestly, guys, honestly, how many gunfights do you get in every day? Probably not many. I don't know anybody who's ever been in a gunfight before. No one. So if you are dropping your loaded pistol on a regular basis, under normal circumstances, you might not be the person that needs to be owning a gun, because that's not safe. That's not normal. So I have my argument there about that. I don't think that it's common as people think, or it shouldn't be, to drop loaded guns all the time under normal, ordinary, day-to-day situations. My friend had a Rock Island 1911. It was an older one, but functioned good. Rock Islands were good guns, man. A Rock Island 1911 is a solid gun. The Rock Island 1911, the reason why that they are a cheaper entry-level 1911 in most cases is because the things are manufactured in the Philippines at a cheaper labor rate. It's just cheaper to build things over there. They're imported over here and then they're sold in the United States. It is a great, it's more than an entry-level 1911. It's a great 1911. I've got several Rock Island 1911s. I've got one that over there is one of my best-looking pistols. Very good pistol. Rock Island makes good stuff. Let's see. Again, I'm kind of horning in on you guys' conversation. We've got a couple more minutes here before I end the stream here. Wasser 10. Oh, and guys, you probably noticed again my guys up front here. I've got my George Washington, General Robert E. Lee, and my Abraham Lincoln guys. I call them the three agreeers, because when I bump the table, their heads bob and they agree with me. Again, I want to thank Battle Juice Energy Drink for allowing me and making it possible for me to be able to do the live streams like this. We're going to try to do these every single Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, you know, I enjoy doing this kind of stuff and interacting with you guys. I wish I could interact a little bit more. I mean, I see a lot of the conversations. You guys are rocking and rolling out there with your conversations. I like that. That's really cool. I wish I could get more involved in that, but being able to watch the camera and this at the same time is a little bit tough, as bad as my eyes are. However, I have a little bit of a fix. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set something up on my iPad so that my iPad will actually stream over here to a much larger monitor that I can put right underneath the camera, so that whenever I'm looking at you guys on camera, I can also read your comments right across underneath there. So I will be able to do that. The iPad stand, here, let me give you this name on the iPad stand so you can look it up. I got this thing on Amazon, Bond-Tinned. I guess that's the name of it, Bond-Tinned. That's the manufacturer of the iPad stand. It's a pretty cool iPad stand. As you can see, it's adjustable on the backs right here, so you can get it for different heights and things like that. For a guy like me who has really bad eyes, it's pretty cool for you to be able to look at and kind of keep it in my face. And it's sturdy, you know. It's got some weight to it. The base of it's a little heavy, so it holds up really nicely. So again, Bond tinned. I got it on Amazon, so I'm not sure what the cost of it was. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna probably, it's 11:30. I'm gonna sign off of here. Look, man, this is probably the most people we've had on here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's a lot of fun for me. I enjoy this. I enjoy being able to unbox some of these guns out here and bring them to you guys. It's a lot of fun for me. I mean, I'm a gun nerd. I like doing this kind of stuff. This is not work to me. I enjoy this. So I'm glad that you guys will take the time out on a Friday evening to do this with me. It's a lot of fun to me, and I enjoy doing it. Hope you guys get a chance to also watch our YouTube videos when we put them out. Look, man, the thing that helps us a lot is subscribers and people viewing our stuff. So, I mean, if you get a chance to share our videos, tell them that you guys are on here with our live streams. You know, get your friends to subscribe to our channel, share our videos on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever. Follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, obviously on YouTube. You get a chance, man, check us out. Tell your friends to check us out too. We really appreciate that. It means a lot to me that you guys would hang out with me on a Friday evening like this. You know, I'm a pretty humble person, and it's a lot of, you know, kind of an honor that you guys would take the time to do that, knowing that you probably have better things that you could be doing. That's why if you have any ideas or suggestions, I would certainly like to take those on and make those happen. If you got a gun you want me to talk about, got a gun you want us to look at, anything like that, I'm more than happy to try to make that happen if you guys will suggest. Send me emails if you'd like. You can always comment on our videos. I'm really good and responsive about commenting and replying to your comments on videos. You'll go and look and see a lot of our videos where people are commenting. I'm really good about responding on there. So if you want to respond that way, that's cool. Or you guys can email me, paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. Email me anytime. I don't care if it's a suggestion, a complaint, a comment, whatever it is. Feel free to email me. I'll be happy to get back to you also. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign out here. If anybody's over there on the East Coast, you know, want to send prayers out to you or your families and all that for Hurricane Irma. That's a bad dude or a bad chick about to go up there right now. You know, I hate that for them guys. You know, us down here in South Louisiana, we're 30 minutes from the Gulf of Mexico, so we have had our share of hurricanes. Last week, Tropical Storm and Hurricane Harvey. Now we're seeing it over there with a much worse hurricane. I really feel bad for those guys. I have a feeling, you know, we saw all the videos last week of all the flooding. Not a whole lot of destruction from a wind standpoint. With Hurricane Harvey, most of it was just devastation due to flooding. I have a bad feeling we're about to see a whole lot of videos come in from, you know, down south down there and, you know, the Caribbean up through the Atlantic. Where we're going to see a whole lot of different types of damage. That's going to be more wind-related damage. And, you know, I'm not looking forward to that. You know, I know it's interesting to look at, but, you know, these are people's homes and people's lives that are being hurt and devastated and destroyed with these kinds of stuff. So let's hope this thing peters out a little bit. I know that I just saw a while ago that, I think I wrote it down. Yeah, they've already upgraded this thing to Category 5 again. So it's already coming off of Cuba to Category 5 again. So it's about to hit Florida as a 5. So again, you know, if you're a God-fearing person, you know, pray. If you're not a God-fearing person, hope that these people don't get hurt, and, you know, people and their families and their pets and all that are okay, and everybody gets out of harm's way. If any of you guys are down there, you know, I'll be thinking about you guys. Definitely will. You know, my heart goes out to you all and what you're about to be going through, the stuff you're already going through with the evacuations and all that mess down there. So, guys, have a great weekend. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It means a lot to me. We will see you next time, next Friday, 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here, always Legally Armed America on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.